Okay. I'm in your hands, I guess, really. I don't have any announcements to make, so I'm open for questions.
We have a date for the White House visit. Any reaction?
No, I mean, we knew that was going to come along at some point. We've accepted it. It's been something we've talked about really from right after the World Series. So, it's up to each individual they want to attend or not.
Dave, this time last year, kind of a similar situation, save the World Series title. It was a cold, hot stove. Seems like it's maybe, shaping up to be another pretty chilly hot stove. What is your reaction to the lack of baseball movement, transactional movement?
I think every free agency year is different. The last couple of years have been slower. There's no question for it. There's a lot of free agents still out there to sign. I'm not sure why it develops the way. It's a combination of factors. Clubs making decisions that they're making decisions. Some players not signing, which affect other decisions made. So everybody makes their own unilateral decisions, and it's been a slow one at this time. Now it has to pick up a little bit because we're not too far away from spring training. I know I'm 2 weeks away from going down there, and some of our players are already going down to Florida. So, that's just the way it is nowadays. I think it's the last couple of years. I don't know if it's going to set a trend that's going to take place forever, but it's definitely been a trend the last couple of years that it's a slower process.
It looks like with a couple of weeks before everything kicks off, how do you assess the back end of your bullpen at this point?
Well, we're in a position where we've got some guys that we think have the ability to perform it. We've got some guys like Ryan and Matt Barnes and even Stephen Wright that we think can do it. They're not proven, but I've seen a lot of guys that aren't proven do those jobs. And we'll continue to evaluate to see what takes place.
I mean, there are still guys on the market, but at this point, would you anticipate that your closer would come from within?
I don't know that answer. We're going to continue just to see. Again, there's a lot of players that are out there at this point. It could, but that's also one that we don't have to really make that decision till March 27th is our first game.
David, have there been some guys who have signed, some of the relievers who have signed that you guys have kind of targeted and lost out on, or how would you
Not really.
That?
I mean, we've liked a lot of the guys. First of all, when you look at it, we have Brazier, we have Barnes, we have Stephen Wright, we have Embry, who did a good job for us. We think Workman will come back and do well. We do have Velasquez, and we have Johnson, who performed big roles for us. We acquired Brewer from San Diego that we think contribute, and we have some young guys that we like. So really the one thing that is significantly different, I know we lost two guys, but that's significantly different, is that we don't have a proven closer. And sometimes you have to evaluate where you're going to spend your dollars. We decided to keep back the rest of the core of the club. We like our team a great deal, and we think that some of the guys internally can do the job. Can we get better? Perhaps, but we'll see what takes place in every year.
Would you be content to start the season as is?
If they get people out. So I guess that's the way I would determine that. I think I have been in situations where, again, everybody wants proven. Sometimes unproven can do a job too. They just need the opportunity. So I have been in that situation, and they've worked well at times. Sometimes they don't work well. It just depends how they perform and how circumstances. I don't think there's one set answer. I do know that we have the ability to close with the people that we have on our team. We'll see if we get to that point or not.
Is it still your intent, Dave, to stay under the highest penalty of the pack?
Well, I'd love to. I mean, we don't have any mandate to do that, but again, it really hasn't changed that. There is a reason why they call it a penalty, and the higher you go, the penalty is quite significant. So ideally, we'd like to stay there, but that was really our goal last year before the season started, and we did end up going over.
Dave, how's Dustin Pedroia doing in his running program?
Well, if you listen to him, he's doing great. He sent me a text the other night, Saturday night, with him running, and said, "Don't worry, he'll be ready." So I mean, he started to run, and when I say that, I don't really know. I mean, he's doing well from his own perspective. He has started the program. He's on basically pace what was described to me. Middle of January he's running, but only time will tell. I can't really give that answer at this point so far. But he sent me a note. I erased it with him running and took a picture of it and said, you can count on it.
Now, will you have somebody go out to Arizona to take a look at him at some point?
Not at this point. We have a pretty good pulse of where he is. We know the people that are working with him at this time. We have had people out there in Arizona. A lot of our people are starting to go down to Florida, not far from now. But I don't think it really makes a difference for us.
And is he coming to spring training just at the normal time that he would?
Yes, unless he's coming early. I don't have the exact date that he's coming, but the regular time, yes.
Dave, is it likely that you will have to wait maybe even until the start of the season to get a real sense about his readiness and availability? I mean, there was all the build-up last year that he did all the right things, extended spring, rehab at AAA, and then when he started playing games here, that's when problems developed. So when do you think you might know what you can expect from him?
Well, I don't really know that answer. I don't have a set. I mean, the first key has been the recovery from the surgery, the injury he had in the past. So he's at that point now. He's had treatments in the winter time. He's in a position where he's continued to progress the way they have told me. So it's a step-by-step process. The anticipation is that he can be ready for the season. I also don't think that we will expect Dustin to play 150 games anymore. And I think part of the key is going to be in how his knee holds up from playing the game of baseball. So when will that time come? I'm sure we're not going to play him every day in spring training. There'll be a build-up attached to that, and I think a little bit will be dependent upon once we start playing more games and he gets more exposure to doing that, because it's different. It's just like if you go watch a pitcher throw a side and they throw great, but that's a lot different than going out there and pitching back-to-back games and pitching over a month time and then over a 2-month time, and I think all those will be important times. So that's why I think that we're in a position where we're monitoring what's taking place. We're optimistic, but I don't know that you'll ever know until you get to that spot.
Dave, what are your expectations in terms of a role for Blake this year, going into spring training?
Well, Blake is in a spot where he is going to come to camp. Alex, I know we'll talk with him and visit with him. He does have versatility, but he's coming to camp trying to compete to be our starting catcher. That's first and foremost. Now, when he's also in a position where he has the ability to do a lot of other things, so it can keep his bat in the lineup when other guys are catching. But he's going to be an important part of our club and competing to get us this starting spot.
You had said after the World Series that keeping 3 catchers again would I think the word was challenging or difficult.
Sure.
Do you expect to have all 3 when spring training starts?
I still don't know that. We have had discussions with clubs about catchers. There have been catchers that have been very slow moving to sign, or even trade market-wise that affects other clubs. We have had discussions, and it's a matter of we make a trade that we think we feel good about, and so we'll just wait and see, but I don't know which way we're going to go in that regard. I don't anticipate having all 3 on our club opening day. But again, because of the slow-moving free agent market, it's affected some trades too, some trade conversations.
How would you characterize the interest in the 3 or any one of those guys in the discussions you've had with teams?
Well, there's interest, but we still haven't made a deal that we feel comfortable making.
Dave, with Mookie, you guys were able to avoid arbitration this time. Does that represent progress in your mind, or are you much happier with the way it went this time compared to previous times?
Well, you'd rather sign a player than you would have an arbitrator make that decision. So that's progress in that regard. But I mean, it's part of the process, so if you so choose to go to arbitration, it's your right as a player. I'd rather not do it. I don't think we had any animosity in the past, and I don't think we have any animosity now. He's a great player, a tremendous person, great player with the organization that we'd love to keep in the organization for years to come. And I don't know that attitude's been reflective of change based upon going to arbitration or not.
How would you rate the odds of signing him long-term before he gets to free agency?
I would never even speculate on something like that.
Dave, in addition to fielding offers or talks on the catchers, are you pursuing a catcher?
No, we're not.
It's possible to add an insurance second base option.
Well, I think it's really more the same situation we talked about before, is that we don't anticipate signing anybody to a big league contract to be there. Are we open-minded to bringing guys to camp on a minor league contract just as protection? Yes. That opportunity's not there as of yet. The type of players, they're still looking for big league contracts. We have protected. We have, of course, at Brock, we have Eduardo Nunez, we have Sue Lin. We even have some guys internally that could end up being over there that could help us. Could we still do it? Yes. I anticipated doing it. Not really positive on that.
Dave, what is some hardest challenge for you to win the World Series back to back? Everybody's, there's never happens.
Well, it's hard to win one year. So when you do that, then you say winning it back to back makes it very challenging. And it's hard to win. We have a very good club. We have a good manager. We have a good staff. Feel good about where we are, but it's just a lot of things have to break well for you to win on any particular year. You have to stay relatively healthy. Your players have to have good years. You have to win big games and get clutch hits. Get a break here, get a break there. Probably the odds diminish when you do that 2 years in a row. I do feel that we'll be in a position where we'll be ready to do those things. I don't think our club, in fact, I'm sure our club, I've talked to Alex plenty, and we'll take anything for granted. We will start talking, we're talking about 2019 now internally. We're not talking about 2018. We're talking about 2019 and being prepared. But to have all those things work for you, look at Houston last year. They won in 2017. They had a very good club last year in 2018. They won 103 games. And a couple of injuries, a couple of us beating them for performance-wise, and they fell short. It wasn't they didn't have a good club, but it's just hard.
David, are you surprised at all that Kimbrel's still out there? And have you guys kept tabs with him at all through his agent or anything? Or
well, we know Greg and we know his agent, so we know him and we talk to them. Am I surprised he's still out there? I guess I am, because he's a really good pitcher, but for whatever reason, clubs have signed other players at that role. So I am a little bit surprised.
Still think it's unlikely, just with where your payroll's at, that
I wouldn't really comment on individual situations other than to say I still don't expect us to have a high expenditure in our closer situation right now.
Are there any players on your 40-man roster who medically won't be ready for spring training, or has anything popped up with anybody?
Well, the two that would be, we'll be watching most closely are Petey and Stephen Wright. The anticipation right now is that they'll be ready to go. I can't tell you they'll be 100% right off the bat participating. Carson Smith is not, but he's not on our 40-man roster. Otherwise, no.
Nothing else is? No other procedures or anything like that?
Dave, how quickly might Smith be ready to pitch in games?
It's going to be a while. We don't even have a time frame on that right now. He's going to come to camp. We're hopeful that maybe he'll start throwing program at that point, but we don't really have a time frame on it. It's not the anticipation he's going to be ready soon after the season starts or anything.
How much are you looking forward to seeing what Nate Eovaldi can do, kind of in a full season in your rotation? You obviously got a nice glimpse of him last year.
Well, I'm excited. I'm excited to see Nate pitch. He's a good pitcher. We're excited to have him with us. Be part of the rotation. I do think, again, we spend a lot of time talking about what we don't have at times, or we don't have a proven closer. But when you look at our starting rotation, I think it's second to none. It's outstanding. Our positional players are good offensively and defensively. The one name, too, I will say I did not mention, doing off the top of my head, is Tyler Thornburg coming to camp. We're interested to see how he does. He has been a closer, and he's been a very good closer in the past. He is healthy. He's been time off of that. And if he would come back and be the pitcher he was in the past, he is a guy that has done that before. So that's another name I forgot off the top of my head.
Dave, if you go to camp without a closer, has there been any discussion about using one of your starting pitchers in that role?
No. Unless you count Stephen Wright in that, but none of our 5 established guys, no. No, they will be. We've decided we're really building a solid starting staff, which we've done with I think our 5 guys there. We like our guys in the bullpen. Somebody has to step up for their role if we don't get anybody outside, but I don't anticipate that happening. Making one of our starters a closer.
Do you feel it would be difficult to stay under the 246 if you signed another league?